Joining with me today is Valley Flying. We're going to talk about the Mephisto nerf, the Mephisto buff, the drastic changes to Alliance War, which is in part has to do with Mephisto, right? We're also going to talk about the Spotlight Raids, and we're going to talk about the old Man Logan. Are you ready to do it, Valley Fly? Let's go smash it! Yeah! Oh, wait, that's your video, not my video. All right. So
anyway,
Mephisto got nerfed, and we're going to talk about this a little bit. I think it's a little bit nuanced what they're talking about here, but there was some drastic buffs to Mephisto.
Ugh.
And if you listen to this song, it says never going to get Mephisto. We're both kind of in the early stages of Dark Dimension 7,
yes.
But this is bonkers. We're updating Mephisto's passive ability so that as 2 or more exhausted, he won't gain speedboard nor empower. Is this the first nerf in Marvel Strike Force history? What do you think?
I think it was. I mean, they did speculate some nerfs or Yondu and stuff, but there was so much pushback in that year 1. I don't think they've ever nerfed a character. If they did, I don't remember it. So this may be the first nerf they've ever done in Marvel Strike Force. But it was after a buff, so it was like a buff that was kind of taken back. So.
Yeah, so I feel like Mephisto's a funny situation where there's players that have Mephisto, players that, like me, I guess, that play against Mephisto all the time, right? Either Arena, Crucible, and or in Alliance War. And then there's people that, like, I don't ever play against Mephisto. By the time I get Mephisto, there's going to be 19 counters to Mephisto, so this doesn't really affect me. I'm never going to get Mephisto, and I'm like 18 months out. Where are you on this whole spectrum?
All right, so I don't. There's one Mephisto in our Alliance Shard at number 1, as far as I know.
In your Arena Shard, right?
Arena Shard, yeah. I never fight him. I never fight him because I knew with Super Skrull Apocalypse that you needed to mirror match that thing. So that hasn't affected me. This has worried me about Cosmic Crucible because we're in a casual war alliance. So if a war room is locked, whatever. That sucked with Heroes for Hire, but we've had that before. I don't want a Cosmic Crucible room lock. So I liked when I saw this, but when we talked earlier, I guess there was a counter ready to Mephisto that is not locked. So maybe this was not needed.
All right, so here's the thing. I guess I want to talk about Arena, Crucible, and War. Arena, before buff, before the secondary nerf, unbeatable, right? Yeah. So nothing changed in Arena, right? Mephisto's a lot stronger. The nerf didn't affect Arena because it only affects Empowered, which is going to be Crucible, Alliance War. He's unbeatable.
You lose earlier. You lose quicker.
Right. So the buff in Crucible coordinated with the changes to Cabal and Masters of Evil in the season change, where there's that bonus where
for Crucible,
where Crucible's like all bonkers. And my understanding is that under most team comps, you can still one-shot Mephisto. That is with Cabal, Kang, and Titania. So it didn't really change anything inside of Cosmic Crucible. I suppose if that didn't work, the first 2 attacks are going to be a pain, but the third attack would be easier. Now,
or if you had Cabal and had to use it for another team, so you're not totally locked out of the entire. I guess I think that's a good thing.
Okay, so now War is another story. Okay, so pre-buffs, pre all of this garbage buffs, right? Well, they just completely changed the entire way he works. He's so much better on 19 different levels. He was the best character in the game, and they made him the best character in the game. I mean, they just went over the top. So he was a 2-tap before. Let's say you use Out of Time on the first attack, and that gets rid of the Super Skrull. Because almost always I was seeing like Cabal, Super Skrull, Mephisto on defense in Alliance War, right? And so you use a full Out of Time, and all that would do is get rid of the Super Skrull, and then the second attack would be like Nowhere Apocalypse, where you just get rid of Star-Lord Annihilation, right? So it was like it was a 2-tap, right? Then they changed these buffs, and it was now a 3-tap. You went in with like Invaders, and then your second attack was like Out of Time with Super Skrull, and then your third attack was like Nowhere Apocalypse. And then
that was last week before the war changes went live.
Yes. And so this is a secondary problem. Then all of these war changes, we're going to talk at length of war changes, because I think this affects everywhere. Like some of this the war changes affect everybody, right? But the Mephisto changes only affect certain players, right? That are coming across Mephisto, blah, blah, blah. But these changes and the way that yesterday's war was, and then today's war and the next war, meant that Mephistos were getting 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 or more defensive wins, and it became an impenetrable wall that you could not get through. And that mostly had to do with a change that largely went unnoticed, but they removed the primary stats to all attacking war-ready allies. War-ready is allies that have green ISO 4, which is most people's rosters, right? They got rid of that.
Huge nerf.
Yeah,
huge
nerf. And so then they said, oh, hold on. We can't do small incremental changes. We only know how to ramp up defense by changing 3 things simultaneously. Change everything, right? And oh no, we went too far. And so this change, this Mephisto nerf is now going to be next week. So basically on Sunday, they're going to change it so that it'll go back to being a 3-tap. You know, a 2-tap wasn't a good enough, but a 15-tap was too much. 3-tap is the right number. I don't know if they know what they're doing. I mean, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, it's very confusing. War, like I said, is not a huge game mode for myself in Alliance. I enjoy Cosmic Crucible. I enjoy Arena. I enjoyed min-maxing the game. So this is something I just kind of do. When I did play War seriously, Heroes for Hire was around. That's kind of what stopped me from playing War seriously, because of locked rooms. So if this change that they made, the slight nerf to Mephisto, doesn't allow him locking rooms anymore, I think that's good.
Yeah.
This stuff, though, to allow him to lock the room initially, I mean, he was already very, very strong. So I'm not sure where this is going to affect me. I mean, I'm not going to have him for a while. I don't see him a lot.
Yeah, I feel like most people are like, I don't have Mephisto. I don't play against Mephisto. And by the time I get Mephisto, they'll be, you know, they've sold us 4 or 5 counters by then to Mephisto, and he won't be the problem he is now. And so a lot of people are indifferent to this. Now, this affects everybody right here. They changed war, and if you care about war, they changed 2 large fundamental things. Is that they basically massively buffed Hero Spider-Verse allies. Now, they get all this stuff, right? 2 safeguards, offense up, defense up, and then 20% primary stats to defending war ready Hero Spider-Verse allies. So this is a situation for big time Spider-Man on infestation, tangled web on defense, let's say with Heroes as Guardian. That's typically what people are pairing them up with, or Spider Society. I don't know if this is gonna allow people to reuse Web Warriors or anything like that. But this is a big change. Has this affected you at all?
Yeah, I lost a couple of matches that I wasn't expecting to lose. One of them, I guess, and it was mainly because of the stat boost that you lose from attacking. I lost against Heroes for Hire with Dark Hunters. Normally that smashed that team, and it was a punch down as well. I killed a few characters, left it on auto, so I'm not sure exactly what happened, but that was a big boost that shocked me in our war that we had.
Yeah, so I've only done one more with these boosts, and I had to use, you know, top tier teams to clear out mid-level teams, right? You know, I was end up using like Gamma Apocalypse against Spider Society because I didn't want to risk it. I'm sure there's better counters, but it's just I didn't want to risk it.
First war, right? So you gotta figure stuff out.
Yeah, and I ended up using Nowhere against like Infestation instead of that like inferior 6 garbage 6 leftover team. You know what I mean? So, anyways,
I had a huge punch down, so that still worked against Infestation. But the normal matches, I don't think they're going to work like they did previously.
So the change that's affecting the larger community is that this was removed, and I think most people. So this is from last August, so like 8/23, right?
Yeah.
This is the way it's been in War
since they launched War Ready.
Yeah, since they came out with Green ISO, right? Yeah. 20% primary stats to all attacking War Ready allies. This was completely removed, effectively changing all counters. This is bad for a lot of players.
We need a total new counter sheet.
Right. Now, I understand that they wanted to, at least at the tippy top of Alliance War. They wanted to make it more defensive and less offensive, but I don't know why they needed to introduce a Alpha Flight, a war defensive team, strip away this massive stat boost, massively boost Mephisto, massively boost Spider-Verse, Hero Spider-Verse, all at the same time, basically flipping Alliance War on its head. I don't think this is a good experience for most of the player base.
No, this is very unscientific, like we talked about in my video, right? In science, you adjust one control at a time, so you know how the variables are affecting the outcome. When you adjust 3 at a time, you don't know which is the variable that's affecting the outcome. So it could be this, could be Mephisto, could be Alpha Flight when it comes here. I think it's mainly the attacking war ready removal of the 20% boost, but
yeah.
It's there's so many changes that are happening, so many moving parts. It's hard to see what is causing all the problems, but I think it is the 20% boost.
This is the one that this caught me by surprise because I just thought it was there always. Like I didn't know, I just didn't realize it's completely missing. Oh my goodness. Now,
it could change from season to season.
We're not going to talk a lot about the spotlight raid improvements. So the snow effect was hard to read. Then they're adding a new lane. So this is kind of dumb if you ask me. So before it was 4 strike teams of 3 lanes. So a total of 12. That means that if you have 24 people on your alliance, you have to do 2 people per lane. And then they changed it to, too many strike teams. So we're just going to delete a strike team, which then there wasn't enough nodes. This whole thing has been a mess.
Simple way. It was 2 per lane. Then it was 3 per lane. Now when that changes to go live, it's going to be 2 per lane again.
Yeah. So now it's going to be 4 lanes in 3 strike teams. So this means like half of your alliance is going to have to buy an Alpha Flight if you want to make it to the end.
If you want 100%, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the way it was when it first came out. But then it got moved to the 3 lanes, the 3 strike teams. Yeah. Which is not... What are you doing over there? What do you think about all this?
So that's the good and bad, right? When we want more raid nodes to do milestones, events like this is great. When we just want to complete it easily, this is not as good. So I think this is how it originally was designed, 2 per lane. So I guess this is fine.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are not aware that when you're in a raid, you can go into the node and hit lose battle, go into the node and hit lose battle, and it counts as an attack for the milestone points on the web event. And use all of your energy and don't screw your alliance out of using spending their energy.
Don't just sim. Go to these Greek raids and go in and lose.
Yeah, go in and lose. Come out and lose. So like, I mean, if you have 60 energy and you can only attack 1 node, go in 6 times, right? And then get rid of your energy. Counts for your attacks. I mean, if you have to worry about your daily attacks for your daily milestone, it also applies for that.
Can I make a quick PSA?
Yeah.
That's for this event only. Some events are based on winning.
Yes.
A lot of the recent events have been based on play or battling, and then you could go in and lose. But if there's an event in the future that's based on winning, you can't lose. You're not going to get anything for that. Retreating doesn't count as a battle.
For me, the main thing I don't understand about this is why release this if the team is not in the game. I don't.
I think they wanted to get the rewards in our hands a lot sooner. This feels bad, but I think they wanted to get the rewards in our hands sooner. That's why they released it like this. But yeah. I see you shaking your head. I think that's a lot of community feels.
No, I mean,
the optics of this were not good.
Yeah, I just feel like there was a more professional, like logical player, like if they I don't know, it just seems weird.
Maybe they should have just updated the rewards and then not released this till later. That probably would have been a best of both worlds.
Yeah, all right. It just feels really amateurish the way the release of this, as well as the Old Man Logan. Now, I've had very, very strong opinions about the Old Man Logan event, and you and I are in the same situation. We both had 5s. What I mean by 5s, we had a 5-star Out of Time and a 5-star Cabal, Emma and Loki, and we were able to get 6-star Old Man Logans. What's your take on the situation? How did you feel with the efficiency and the maxed out Scourges? And trying to fight for the top 5,000. What was your gameplay like?
All right, so I've been comparing this to the older legendaries because I think it's very obvious these aren't as good for the players as the Scourges or the Trials. There's no comparison. These are not as good. So my comparison has always been to this and the older legendaries, and I'm talking Omega Red and previous. And I think for most players, this is a better experience than just grinding. There are some players that did get 7-star out of time, 7-star Cabal, that didn't get a 7-star Old Man Logan. That sucks. That's just bad event design.
Right.
But I think for the majority of players, it's a little better than the older legendary events, just the result of it. I don't know. That's how I feel. What are your thoughts on this event?
So it's obvious with the leaderboards that they want to have a fixed amount of rewards, meaning they only want 500 7-star Old Man Logans in the game, and then they want, up to the 5,000, another 4,500 6-stars. They want a fixed amount, and they want it to be competitive for us to compete because they're going to give an exact number of 6 and 7-star Old Man Logans out to the player base. So they're trying to create like an auction leaderboard system, right? Before it was a competitive that was skill, and they said, hey, now we don't want this to be a game where you use your brains and have skill. We want this to be more of a function of wallet. This game always has got a pay-to-win component to it for sure, but there's always been a place under the old Scourge systems where smart players could overachieve and be competitive with people that maxed out their rosters. It's just the way it was. And so they were trying to command and tell the player base where you were going to be placed based on the number of stars, because that was going to be the difficulty. The problem with the system was the Scourges ended up not mattering. Everybody, as far as I can tell, was able to go into the maximum difficulty that we were locked into, because we're locked out of the max difficulties, right? Yeah. I was able to go into difficulty 12, turn on all the Scourges. If I had 6s, I could go into difficulty 14, turn on all the Scourges. If I had 7s, I could turn on all the Scourges and go into difficulty 15. So the Scourges didn't matter at all.
I'd push back a little bit. Some of the health ones might have, because I did have trouble at that last node. If I wanted to make it easier, I could have taken those health ones off and just not worried about my Cabal and out of time. So I would say for the most part, yes, but there's some fringe cases there where it did.
You would have not placed in the top 5,000 if you did that at all.
No.
If you wanted to place in the top 5,000, you had to do it the way you had to do it with all Scourges.
But then again, it's compared to those old legendaries, right? Where I had 5s and I got 5s on the characters. So, and I think it is a little more generous with this.
So here, for me,
except for those players that didn't get a 7, that's bad for everybody that didn't get a 7 and had 7.
I feel like teams. Scopely's wisdom was to, create these nonsense barricades and lock people out of playing content, and to predetermine who would get what. But yet they were somewhat unsuccessful on that. There's at least 200 players that had 7s that did not get a 7-star Old Man Logan, and they got the same reward that you and I got with 5s. How would you feel if you'd spent all that money for 7s, knowing that Mobile Gamer and Valley Flying, who had 5s, got the same rewards? Essentially, we both got 6-star. They did something wrong. I don't felt, if they're going to try to screw the player base off by locking out difficulties, well, they did a bad job of not only pissing everybody off by locking us out of the event, by gating us behind these characters, and they pissed off the spenders. Who did they make happy with this? I don't know. The only thing that was good about this event is I have a baby account that's 55 days old. Kat has an account that is started at the beginning of the year. On her account, I was able to go into difficulty 14, turn on some war Scourges, enough to get up to like 70 Scourges, and I went in with Sinister 6, like an 800,000 power team, and I unlocked Old Man Logan. My baby account, which is under 2 months old, I was able to beat it with a 700,000 Extreme X-Men. I'm so excited to have Old Man Logan, and it was meaningful, fun gameplay. It was actually hard, but the rest of the event kind of seems bad. I just don't think this is a good system at all.
I enjoyed this event. Obviously not better than the Horseman stuff, but I did enjoy this. The gameplay was challenging for me. And I gamed the system. I had 5 stars and I got a 6. So for me, I'm in that fringe case that I did enjoy this event, but I know with the design, it wasn't for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like efficiency, and if it's going to be about efficiency, then what was the point of the Scourges? It just felt not well planned. All right,
I was just about to beat Mephisto or not.
yeah. Well, head over to Valley Flying's channel where we have probably an hour-long version of this video with more details and 9,000 other topics that encompass all of this week news. Anything you want to say before we go?
Have fun, guys. Hopefully you guys are having fun despite some of the decisions by the devs.
Yep. That'll do it for today. Bye for now. Like and subscribe and all that YouTube stuff. Bye now.
Twice.